Hi everyone, and welcome to Cooking with Cricket. Today I'm going to be showing how I make my roast beef. Now I cook mine on top of the stove, and you can also put it in the crock pot, and I've never really cooked one in the oven. To me it always dries out and stuff. It's good, but I just cook mine on top of the stove. So I have some I have round roast beef, and this is it's almost 3 pounds. So first we're going to sear it. I have a large skillet. I'm going to put it on medium-high heat. Take about 2 teaspoons of oil. Let that be heating up. And then I'm going to coat this with some flour. I got out about a 1/4 cup of flour that I'm going to lightly coat this with on all sides. And if you have any flour left over, just throw it away, because you don't want to use it after it's been on raw meat. So let me get it coated. I have it all lightly coated with flour, and you can go ahead and season this now with a little salt and pepper. But just put it in your pan. My pan's not heated up yet, but that's fine. And as soon as it gets to searing, I'll be back. I'm going to wash my hands and clean up a little bit. Now in this pan, while our beef is getting seared, I'm going to be adding one 14.5 ounce can of beef broth. And 1 cup of water. In this cup, I have 3 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce, a 1/2 teaspoon of Louisiana hot sauce, and a 1/2 teaspoon of this barbecue sauce that you get at barbecue places. It's like got mustard and vinegar in it, and you don't have to add that. Just add this in. And then I have 2 teaspoons of minced garlic. And in here, I have a 1/2 teaspoon of dry parsley flakes, 1/4 teaspoon of crushed red pepper flakes, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt, 1/4 teaspoon of paprika, and 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder. I'm not going to be adding any onion to mine because my kids don't like it in there. So I'm just going to add some onion powder. And you can add more salt and pepper. That's up to your taste. And get this heated up. To me, that's seared up good enough. If it was more round, I'd be able to get more sides. Sometimes I even skip that step if I'm in a hurry. And you don't have to use this big piece of meat. So this is almost to the boil. And once it comes to a boil, I'm going to turn the heat down to low and barely let it even simmer for several hours. It's 11 o'clock now, and we probably won't eat dinner till around 5:30 or 6. And at around 3 o'clock, I'll come back in here and add some potatoes and carrots. But I'll show you that step. But as soon as it comes to a boil, I'm going to turn it all the way down, and I'll keep a check on it. I'll turn it every now and then, about every hour, and just barely let it simmer. Okay, see it's starting to soft boil around the edges. So I'm going to cover it and turn the heat down to simmer. And then I'll be back at around 3 o'clock to show the next step. But I will keep a check on it. I will turn the roast over every now and then and make sure that it's just barely out of simmer. And I'll be back throughout the day to show you what it looks like. My roast has been cooking for a little over a couple of hours now. I've turned it over and I come and keep checking the heat. Sometimes I have to adjust it, but that's about the simmer that I want. And if it gets to simmering too much, I will turn the heat down even more. So I'll be back after a while, show you what it looks like. Alright, I'm back. It's a little after 3. My roast has been simmering since 11. So I've taken about 3 to 4 medium-sized potatoes, cut them up about 1/2 inch to 1 inch size cubes. Took about a cup of baby carrots. You can take regular carrots, chop them up. Washed them real good, and they're ready to start cooking. But first what I do, and you do not have to do this step, but I take my roast out and all of the garlic pieces and stuff and any fat pieces that's came off. I don't like to be eating a potato and getting a hunk of fat. That's kind of gross. So I strain mine. And then I do check for seasoning. I taste the broth. And remember that when you add the potatoes, it's going to absorb a lot of the taste and the flavor. So let me taste the broth. And if you want to skim off some of that fat, now would be the time to do it. I had my husband sample it earlier and he said it was a little salty. I don't know how, because I didn't add that much salt because of the Worcestershire sauce. I can't say that word. And the broth has salt in it. But the potatoes will fix that. So gonna add that in. I'm gonna add in my potatoes and my carrots. And then what I'm gonna do, get this out of the way. Then see this big piece of fat, I'm gonna trim that off. You do not have to do this part. It's just easier because the next step will be eating it. So if we get that off now, then we won't have to worry with it. There, that's good enough. Then I'm going to add this back in. And if you want to add an onion, go ahead and add it. If you want to add an onion, go ahead and add it. But sometimes I do. But my family doesn't like it because it does get cooked to death and gets real soggy. Sometimes I add it whole, and just so I can have the flavor, and then I take it out before serving. So I will cut the heat up to medium. And if you need to add a little bit more liquid, go ahead and add it in. If it needs more salt, needs any more of your seasoning, go ahead and add it in. But right now this tastes good. I will taste it about an hour later, because like I say, the potatoes will absorb a lot of that. And I'll check the seasonings then. So be careful checking them too soon. But I'm going to turn the heat up to medium. and let it boil, not hard, but for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. And if it gets done before time of serving, you can always just put the lid on, take it off the heat, and set it on the back of the stove. Put it in a glass dish or a casserole dish. You know, and set it in your oven on warm. And like I say, if you need to add more water or anything, go ahead. Usually this will thicken up some. If not, we don't mind. But if it doesn't, you can add a little cornstarch and water, or a little bit of flour mixed with butter. But this will be just fine as it is. But we'll see in about an hour and a half. So don't let it boil too hard, because you don't want your potatoes just to fall apart. So just, you know, check it, keep it on medium, and we'll be back later. My roast is done. I started it at 11 a.m. this morning, and it is 5:30 p.m. So, like I say, I let it simmer for several hours, and then added in my potatoes and carrots. Checked for the seasonings, and I didn't have to add anything else. But I did have to add a little bit of water, because my potatoes was absorbing it real fast, and I like the broth to eat it. You know, maybe pour over my roast and stuff. But it's going to be real good and yummy, and I want to show how tender that the roast will be. It's very tender. It's cooked off. Oh, you didn't see that. Sorry. It's very tender. It's cooked all the way through. And if we have any leftovers, which I'm sure we will, tomorrow night we're going to have roast beef sandwiches. And I'll probably make a different gravy to go with that. So, here's the roast. Here's the potatoes and carrots with the good broth. And then I made some homemade biscuits to go with supper tonight. And if you want something green, if you want to cook some green beans or broccoli, that'd be good with it too. But this is good enough for me and my family. So I hope you enjoy.